are reserved for you. But let's talk about the big points. CNN political commentator, former communications director for Senator Ted Cruz, Amanda Carpenter. CNN political commentator and Republican strategist Kevin Madden, and former George W. Bush political director and chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp. So, last night, fair to say, your man on the stage was the most devoted to points of contrast, specifically with Trump. What was the plan? How do you think it was executed? What is the impact?
Yeah, he was focused like a laser, convincing voters this is a two-man race. And not only is Donald Trump Washington, he's like Hillary Clinton. It was kind of a two-for-one attack. And every question he got, even if it was about Marco Rubio, he managed to direct it that way. He wasn't interested in picking a fight with Marco. Everything was on Donald Trump.
But Matt, were the stakes actually highest for Marco Rubio here last night? I mean, all eyes on him. Obviously, he's reached the Rubicon.
Yes,
the Rubio
right.
Rubicon in Florida. I'm going to trademark that. But that he was. What did you think of his tone, and what did you think that he really sort of did lay off Donald Trump last night?
He is a God-gifted communicator. He had a great night. He's had so many great debates. The question is, are voters seeing a president when they look at him? Because for some reason, it doesn't seem to correspond with, a surge in the polls. I would say here in his home state of Florida that, usually you can just count on winning your home state. Ted Cruz won his home state. He's, of course, got to win here, but he's got to go further than that. And I think that's really why most people view this as Donald Trump is close to being inevitable, and Ted Cruz is the alternative. And the other two guys on the stage, both great people. People don't see them as part of that mix anymore.
Kev, let's give them a point of analysis they're probably not going to hear much this morning. The X factor for Marco Rubio is not what happened on the stage last night. It's what may already have happened in Florida. 1.5 million votes were already cast in Florida. It's an early voting state. They're putting all their chips on that. What's the rationale for why those votes would break Rubio's way?
Well, I think they believe that they see so many of the late breakers actually moving towards Marco Rubio and so many of the other contests that if they have that amount of votes banked already before they go into it, coupled with some late breakers, that they are in a great position.
That the polls would not pick up.
Right, correct. And so that they're in a position here to really win. At the same time, since it is his home state, they also feel like they have a built-in structural advantage with voters here that is key to their winning the state. That's why they have, you've seen in all of these previous states, campaigns start to play the expectations game, and they try to lower or manage expectations. With Florida, the Rubio campaign has embraced the expectations, guaranteeing that they're going to win here. Now, there's a risk to that, but at this point in the contest, there's really no much. They don't have a choice. Earlier,
before the debate, Donald Trump had sat down with Anderson Cooper and had said something very controversial about Islam. He said, Islam hates us. And he did not back down from that last night when Jake Tapper gave him an opportunity to clarify. So Marco Rubio drew a distinction between how he feels about that. Let me play you that moment.
The problem is presidents can't just say anything they want. It has consequences here and around the world. If you go to any national cemetery, especially Arlington, you're going to see crescent moons there. If you go anywhere in the world, you're going to see American men and women serving us in uniform that are Muslims. And they love America.
That was a nice reminder that he gave the audience there. But did he had an opportunity where he could have said, Donald Trump is wrong, he's flat wrong, but he didn't do that.
Yeah, he should have went harder at Donald Trump in that moment, just using what Donald Trump had said on stage that night. Donald Trump says, listen, I think all Muslim people are evil, but somehow, by the same token, I'm going to be able to negotiate with people in the Palestinian Authority. I'm going to be able to negotiate with people.
All Muslim people are evil, but he did paint with a broad brush about the problem with the faith.
But when you speak that way, billions of people using those kind of words and then saying that I can somehow be this great negotiator, those things just don't add up. And Marco Rubio should have put those two things together.
A lot of this in the crowd, though, last night.
Well, look, I mean, I worked for President Bush, and when 9/11 happened, our talking point was Islam is a religion of peace. And we tried not to use any of these analogies to the Crusades. We were very careful to try to appeal to moderate Muslims. And I think the American people, they heard all that, and they do realize there is a big problem with the fact that we have radicalized Muslim terrorists who are on a regular basis, a daily basis.
But he wasn't drawing the distinction. The problem is that Trump wasn't drawing the distinction.
Okay, but Allison, this is right. This is where Trump goes too far. We have a jihadist problem. And those jihadists are all Muslim. So it's fair to say that there's some serious problems with the religion, but there are wonderful Muslims, and there are Muslims that we need in order to get the peace.
This is the same thing. I know this hits close home to you, Matt, because of your own family system. But the This is what you guys were saying the last time about just Latinos. Now it's like you found a guy to double down on the bigger group that he could find of all Muslims. This was the talk about the GOP coming out about we cannot alienate all these Latinos by throwing them all in a bunch like they're all trying to hop over a fence. And now he's doing it with 1.6 billion people.
Yeah, but
the question is, what's your party going to be?
Yeah, but the other thing is we shouldn't do is avoid the tough answers. And I think one of the questions on global security is talking clearly about who our enemy is. And I think Trump is connecting with people on who our enemy is. And I think the American people get it. There is, when he gets into this whole question about political correctness, I do think there's a benefit to people that are unvarnished. And by the way, when it becomes about Hillary Clinton, she's all about the varnish. And I think that's going to be a great juxtaposition if we're there.
I just want to give Marco Rubio a little bit of credit on this point. His best line of the night was saying, I don't care about political correctness. I want to be correct. That was a home run.
That was a great line.
Yeah.
Kevin, last word. What's the takeaway from last night for voters?
Well, I think the issue is that the civility sort of broke at a debate, right? And that was probably the headline coming out of that. But civility at this stage in the race didn't change anything during the debate. It didn't change the trajectory of who's in first and who's second and who's third. And that always benefits the front runner. So Donald Trump comes out of this debate in the same position he was going in as the front runner.
Well, what we want to know is whether or not Senator Marco Rubio got to change his position, right?
Yeah, and we'll have an opportunity to ask him that.